Welcome to Inside the Artist Studio. I am Rose Fredrick here with my dear friend, David Griffin. Hello, David, beaming in from Texas.
Hello, Rose. It's great to be with you today.
So good to see you. So what's it like? You have two wonderful studios that you are just kind of bouncing back and forth. You've got one in the mountains in Colorado and one in Texas. How's that going?
They're very different. The one in Dallas that I'm in today is smaller, and I have all my information within 2 feet of me. The Colorado studio is about 3 or 4 times bigger than this. It has big ceilings and big windows, and so I'm a lot more better equipped there. I can walk out of my studio, and 5 feet from my back door or 50 paintings during the day. In Texas, I have to drive or fly somewhere. So those are the 2 big differences: the size and the availability of inspiring nature around me.
You know, we're going to look at some of your art. I'm going to screen share here, but I love when you talk about the influences of place. And I was just having this conversation with a wonderful collector who Rob Lewis, and he was talking about this term regionalism. And he said, listen, when people throw out that term, oh, he's a regionalist, it's a put down. And he said it's meant to say, well, it's not as important. But he said, listen, all art is regional, all artists. And for someone who's not an artist to get this, I think is pretty amazing. But to say that all art is regional, because you're an artist and you are influenced by your surroundings. So when you transplant yourself into Colorado, and as you say, you walk out of your studio and there are 50 paintings, and I know where you are, and there for sure are. But Dallas is a big city too. And you have talked in the past about these influences, and in particular about going back to where you were raised and seeing the landscape through fresh eyes, but also with I don't know if this is quite right, but maybe a nostalgia.
Yeah. My memory has taken a bigger part. My memory of things that I didn't even realize that I was recording in my psyche, in my subconscious, of places where I grew up. And now I'm revisiting those, having never thought of them in any other regard other than, okay, now that makes sense. I'm doing this from a different perspective other than just visually. I'm adding my memory to that, being truthful in all cases, but adding my memory. So, but what Rob said about being regional that's true, because no one can travel and say, well, I'm an international artist, I paint all over the world. Well, you're still just painting an area at one time. So,
right.
But the influence of the regions is, to me, different. Of the 2 regions, of the Texas and the Colorado, they affect me differently. I've painted both of them, and I've painted everything from Big Bend through Colorado all the way to Jackson Hole and everything west. So it's the West, I guess, if that's a region, which it could be. That would be a little bit bigger term, I guess, for us.
And so there's what a lot of us talk about, a lot of artists talk about, the atmosphere is very different. You are, our sea level and Texas, and we have big skies in both places. But then when you go up to the mountains, it's a crisper air. It's there's that. But then there's also this sensibility of Texas is where you were born and raised. Texas is, and it's in your voice, it's in your everything about you, and then you come to Colorado. Is there So that idea of memory, and I want you to go down that path a little bit more for me, if you wouldn't mind, and talk about the difference between painting Texas and being in your Texas studio versus being in Colorado, which is, as an artist, you're fortunate enough to have two studios and you've worked very hard for that. So when you're in Colorado now, there's this, I would think, joy of being in this place, but it's different. It's not what you grew up with. And I'm wondering if you would talk about it that way, maybe on a more story level or emotional level of the difference between the two places.
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, I was just out in West Texas, in Post, Texas, and there's a whole story about that. I've got has commissioned me to come out and do some big paintings for him. And so here again, my memory of that area took over. I already knew what he wanted, and he hadn't even told me what he wanted. I knew what I could give him as far as just my memory without even seeing the locations.
Mm-hmm.
So that in Texas is much more palatable in that regard, of have my memory be a huge part of what I'm doing. Now, when I get to Colorado, I've only been up there for 2 years or 2.5 years. So my memory is very short. I've got a real short span, but the inspiration there comes from the moment, from the being on the spot at the moment that this happens. And that's light, shadow, all the drama that Colorado mountains can give us. So the two, one's more from memory, and then Colorado's a little more being present in that moment. I paint moments anyway. We all do. We all paint incremental time, little bitty moments of time. The Colorado is filling my tank, my visual vocabulary tank, with all these new inspirational moments. Texas, I'm filled with more of my memory in that regard.
I'm going to do a screen share because I think like for people listening to be able to look at these images, and in particular, okay, I just started off pulling up a piece called Graceful Silence. And this is one, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is Colorado. This is out.
Yeah, it is. It's a little more west of where I am, probably. Well, it is. I don't really paint specific. Well, I don't name these specific locations because typically when I'm doing a painting like this, I'm pulling from 3 or 4 different pieces of reference, or even visually on site if I'm there in person, using this, thinking, well, I could move that over here, I could put the snow here, I that around, and just work on the concept, the design, the physical application of how I'm going to put the paint on. So that's from a standpoint. This is Western Colorado, and the whole premise of this came, the way things happen to me is I see something and it stops me. Well, I did bird necessarily, the red-tailed hawk. I had seen one. What I saw was this snow with this trail in it, and the way the light was hitting the little areas of where the snow had been by a hoof or a foot or a tail or something, dragged, and seeing this line to be formed, and light was hitting it at this time of day. So that's a design element that I need to pay attention to. When painting to a pretty close finished start, I added the hawk because I wanted to think about what I was hearing, which was nothing. I was hearing no sound other than and I thought, that's the way these animals, that's how they survive, is the stealth, their silence. And so subsequent to that, we went out and watched some birds fly. So that's why that's the title, Graceful Silence, is referring to the red-tailed hawk.
This piece, when you were speaking to before about those moments, capturing those unique moments, and well, okay, so I remember when you first, this has been almost 20 years now, when you took a departure away from, another step away from your background as an illustrator, and really launched into landscape. And I think with landscape, it's so livable, it's so easy to be around. I think it's also dismissed. And what people are missing is that graceful silence in essence, and that what you are doing is you're responding to a landscape, but in a sense, you are playing on my emotions now with these things that you choose to add and you choose to leave out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a responsibility to an artist, I believe. Mm. And it's beyond just capturing the visual. Mm-hmm. My intention is I want the viewer to be engaged on a number of levels. That's why titles are important to me, the verbiage, the words. And then that's also important for me to be able to say in a visual way, this is cold, that's hot. Mm-hmm. You know, use the drama of the weather to build an experience around a single image.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to, I didn't realize I was jumping out of our screen share, but I'm going to jump back into a screen share now. This is a painting called Approaching Reverence that will also be in the show December, coming right up here at Gallery 1261, Naturalism now. Approaching Reverence. Yes, this painting is another one of those quiet paintings, but it just will not let you out of it, out of the frame, out of the reference to reverence. This just beautiful little light that's glinting off that hogback or that rock formation.
That's right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Talk about this one.
Well, reverence takes on the word reverence takes on a number of definitions in people's minds. In this regard, I am a man of faith, but in this regard, what I'm reverencing is the lifetime, the millennia that this mountain has been there, this hogback, this mesa has been there. People for that many years have seen the light on this. I'm visually seeing something that someone may have seen 2,000 years ago. The reverence to the creation of being able to see things and think the life of this continues. I happen to be here at this moment, and I've seen it do that, and I know how it affects me. So, and then of course the light is the pinpoint, is the focal point of that, where the reverence is, the light hitting that at that moment in that time, and the way that it causes the mountain to look, the mesa to look, and then adding the clouds that are also in movement. They're moving. They're not static, they're moving. And so you're capturing them in a still moment as well, and trying to enhance the one against the other.
When you're painting, I've just always been curious about this, but with artists, when you're painting, and especially a painting like Approaching Reverence, is this a meditative process for you? Does your kind of mind and body go elsewhere as you're working on this?
There are moments, and if I ever could figure out how to recapture that, what I did to get to this point, when I'm in the studio or on location, like on this particular painting, and that moment's gone, and I wonder, can I ever get back to that being, being focused is one word, but I mean in the moment, in the zone, I played athletics through college. And so if you're in the zone, meaning that means nothing around you is affecting you. It's just right here. You're facing the pitcher. He's throwing a fastball. You do this. So you're in the zone. And so when I get in those places, and they happen, but I don't have any control over it. And I don't have any reason to say, I haven't found the way to say, well, I can go back to that. I can recapture that moment in my brain, in my subconscious. I have not found a way to do that. So I have to really pay attention when I'm in those moments to use everything I have to capture it, because I know how hard it is to come back to it with distractions, all kinds of things.
Yeah, but that's sort of that's such an amazing, I think, amazing place to be. And it's sort of what there's a lot of conversation about with longevity in life, and
Yes.
to try and get out of the stressful point and go into that meditative state, and how to meditate. And I mean, not to get off on a jag, but it just really feels like, and I think it's what I'm responding to in your work as well, is that you're being so authentic in by you creating these works. I feel that blood pressure go
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me, right?
Well, I think my heart rate is at its lowest when I'm painting. I mean, I'm serious. It's because I think the meditative part of that is really important to me. I sit and look at a painting a lot longer than I used to, so that I am really understanding what I am trying to say, or I'm trying to understand better what I'm trying to say, because just like you responded, that's the response we're all after, to find some place where someone can take a deep breath and just exhale for a minute. And for that moment, something in the painting hopefully will draw them to another memory, a pleasant memory, or a place. That's happened over and over and over with you and I, because you've witnessed it. You witnessed it the other night at the dinner with artists, when Eric was talking about that. Well, I'm drawn to that because of this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important to hear. That's and maybe the most valuable thing to hear. It really is, for an artist to hear that you connected in that way. It resonated with them.
That's a gift, actually. And for collectors listening, really to respond in an emotional way, and it's, I don't know. I think collectors are afraid to do that. I think people are maybe afraid to verbalize that connection with a complete stranger through a work of art, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a brand new piece. We're seeing it over your shoulder, and it's currently untitled. So two things. One, I don't know how much you want to talk about, but you have been telling me that you're starting to push into a new kind of mindset with the work, more abstraction.
Yes, and this is a small attempt at that. In that, I want to use areas of the painting that are shapes, and the shapes in this case are recognizable, but they may be more solid. They may be more less defined, as the foreground is, and as the background of the clouds and sun is. I'm trying to find areas and maybe strips and shapes that I can begin to, the abstract work that I am drawn to are paintings that, if you back up far enough, or if you look at them long enough, they could look like a landscape. You can, it doesn't take you long to get there to a visual. They may not have intended that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to engage those people that think in that area of abstraction. Basically, we're all using abstraction, because no one can really paint an object. I say you can't. It's very difficult to paint an object. With a camera, it's much easier to capture the essence of it, and the full full definition of an object. So I'm sort of just stopping short of that in order to, one, as we just talked about, give a place there's a place to relax, the eye to relax, and an abstract shape tends to do that for me. So that's what I'm investigating. This is a work in progress, although, and it's a big work for me. It's 36 inches square, of starting to introduce those type of elements into the painting. And I guess at this point it's an experiment because I'm not really sure they'll work, but I'm going to be authentic as much as I can and be truthful.
Yeah.
Will be with that. And then at the end, I'll spend 2 days trying to figure out a title for it. And
let's talk about titles.
Yeah.
Tell me,
yeah.
Because titles, artists, for some artists, they're just the bane of your existence. For you, titles are really important though, right?
They are. And I don't know where that came from. I really think, Rose, that because of our creative relationship, that I was introduced to you 15, 16 years ago, and almost immediately I recognized something. And the thing that the something was and is the ability to give permission to think deeper about things. Whether you intended that or not, that's what I observed and began to believe. So that's where the titles became more important to me, was that freedom I felt to do that. So I thought, if I can engage them visually, why can't I engage them with can the words enhance what they're looking at? And I thought they can. So that's and I spend an inordinate amount of time. A lot of times they come from strange places. It may be a lyric in a song. It may be a part of a poem. Oh. It may be something I read or heard in just passing. Someone just said this 3 little word, and I thought, well, that fits with this. So it makes me more aware of my surroundings, of how I can start to collect all these thoughts that I may in fact use one day. Yeah. So I don't know that everyone pays it that much attention to the title on a whole, but I do know the people that do. I have had conversations about those very things, about what really drew me was the connection of the words to the visual. And that helped me kind of flesh out the story. And then from that, I began to, which is what I want, I began to finish the story, dot the I's, cross the T's, add grammar marks, just finish the story as they see it, as they would like for it to see, as they'd like for them to be. So that's really the most powerful part of this, when they get engaged, the next steps that they can take to be able to finish the story themselves, finish the painting themselves, make it personal to themselves.
Well, because that is the thing, that when I take possession of a work of art, I now bring my life to it.
Exactly.
And I have my own meaning on it.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of when you hear that feedback, those comments, they're so profound, because then you think, I never saw that. It increases the responsibility of what we are trying to say, and behooves all of us, artists as well, to be careful with our words and whatever else we put out in public. Hopefully it's a peaceful thought, it's a pleasant thought, but maybe not always. And so you kind of have to take all that together. But it is a priority to me for the title to be right.
In listening to you, this thought just keeps coming to me of I'm just so jealous that, in a sense, your work it'll outlive us with any luck. Right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I won't be here that much longer. So I think it would, but so there's a heritage to this. There's an inheritance to this work, and an inheritance of those moments that the work personifies or portrays. So that is important. that living beyond you and I never thought of it until recently that's might be the case. And so it makes it a lot more valuable to spend the time before they're actually put in public to make sure that they're everything you want to say about this, you've tried to say.
Well, and it does put a that greater importance on it, because this is something that will outlive us. And it is also really of this moment right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And trying to give people some hope, a little bit of, maybe it puts a smile on their face. That's, we'd all like to be thought of pleasantly. And I'd like the work to be thought of pleasantly. So I really strive to find some place that I can put a smile on somebody's face. And if hope is involved in that, then that's even better.
Yeah. Well, David, this has been, as always, amazing. I so appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today and give us a little peek inside the studio and to really talk about these works and what you're going for with them. And so I am just, again, going to let people know in December, Gallery 1261, David is going to be in Naturalism now. And hopefully you're going to make it up for our opening.
Yes, I will be there. I will be there opening night. I sure will. Wouldn't miss it for anything.
Fabulous. So check out the website Gallery 1261 and also the ArtSol to see and find out more about these works and others. And David, once again, thank you so much. I hope you just have a lovely holiday.
Well, it's started out wonderful with this interview, Rose. It's always lovely and wonderful, inspiring to talk to you. You're a good friend, and I'm so glad that I'm on your team.
I feel the same. Ditto. Take good care, David.
Bye, Rose. Thank you.
Thanks.